everyone. Welcome inside the alumni room here at the Wellness and Athletic Center on the campus of Hendrix College. My name is Sandy Burks. I'm the Director of Athletic Communications for the Hendrix Warriors, and I am pleased to be joined by the new men's head basketball coach of the Hendrix Warriors, Coach Anthony Boone. Coach, first of all, it's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for sitting down to talk with us.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here and so ready to join the family here at Hendrix College and join the community of Warriors.
Well, Coach, we've had a chance to talk to a lot of people who know you personally, who know you professionally, and they've had nothing to say about you but just the most incredible things. And I can tell it's all true because you've spent a lot of hours in the past week or so with Dakota and I, and I've seen court orders carry less of a punishment than having to spend a lot of time around us. So I know you're very patient. I know you're a very patient guy, and I know there are a lot of people at home who want to know who you are, both professionally, personally. So you're the new men's basketball coach of the Hendrix Warriors. How did that get to be?
Well, when I was learning that I wasn't going to coach at Central Arkansas anymore, a buddy of mine said, "Hey, did you hear that Coach McCracken is leaving Hendrix?" I said, "No." And I didn't really think much about it until I went home and I talked to my wife and said, "Hey, Jeff said that Coach McCracken is leaving Hendrix," and she said, "Well, you ought to talk to Coach Garrison and see, would you be interested in that?" I said, "Well, yeah, I would." I said, I'll call him and talk to Coach Garrison. Of course, everyone knows and loves Coach Garrison. He's a good friend of mine and of ours, and we go to church together. And he's always been a mentor since I've arrived here in Conway and been an assistant at UCA and head coach. And I just asked him, do you have any insight on the job? Is it open or do they have someone in mind? And he said he would call and find out. So he did that and called me back and we talked about it. And that was, that started the process of me getting a chance at being hired here.
Well, it was certainly just a great chance to be able to get to meet you. And I think once a lot of us got to meet you in this interview process, we got to understand this guy just really understands Hendrix. And we always thought you would fit in really well here. Let's get a chance to meet you a little personally, a little bit about your background, where you're from, and how we got to this point.
Well, I was born in Helena, Arkansas, and lived there until I was about 4. And then we moved to West Helena, a big move, I think about 3 or 4 miles to our new house there when I was 4. Grew up there. My parents, Lynn Boone, who is a Hendrix alum, and Carolyn Boone, who is an alum of UCA, raised me and my brother, Michael. Michael's about a year and a half younger than I am. They're in Helena, West Helena area. They got us into basketball. And, side note, my mom did not play any sports. My dad didn't really play any sports either, although I think they both may have had a little bit of athleticism to them. But the one who claimed our talent for me and my brother's pretty athletic also, and was a good basketball player, good football player, and also a good golfer, was my grandma, my mom's mom, Verda Mae Tyler. She played basketball growing up. She played basketball in high school and in college at Arkansas A&M, which is now known as Arkansas Pine Bluff. She told everyone that our talent came from her. So I started playing basketball at a pretty young age. They have pictures of me with a little Nerf goal and a little Nerf ball when I was 2 years old. So my dad had access as a teacher at Phillips County Community College. He had access to the gym there and took me and my brother and then eventually some of our friends there to work out and play basketball as much as we could. And I continued to grow my love for the game and continue to work on my skill set, and was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Ole Miss. Got to play there, had a pretty good career there on the court and in the classroom. I studied chemical engineering. That was a little difficult. after I graduated, after I finished playing, and then after I graduated, I went on an interview at a chemical plant in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi. And a day and a half of doing interviews, I said I can't do this. I can't do this. I have to do something else. And I talked to Coach Barnes, who had just taken over for Coach Evans. Coach Evans was my college coach at Ole Miss, who had left Ole Miss and gone to Arizona State. Coach Barnes took over at Ole Miss. I talked to him about coming back and being the GA for him, and he granted that opportunity to me, and worked on my master's. Got my master's in mathematics while I was helping out with the basketball team, and then from that point, after graduating, I got a chance to go into college coaching. I had an opportunity at Murray State to become an assistant coach, and I've had a number of stops from there. I was 3 years at Murray State as an assistant for Sylvester Anderson. And then I went with Sylvester Anderson from there to Jackson State in Mississippi for 6 years. And then I hooked up with Russ Pennell at Grand Canyon University. And Russ was one of my coaches. He was an assistant coach at Ole Miss. So I had known him for, at that point, half my life, and now well over half my life. But coached with him for 4 years at Grand Canyon. And then went with him to the Phoenix Mercury. And was with the Mercury for part of a season, and then he left, but I stayed on with the Mercury until he got the job at UCA. And it was a chance for me to, although I enjoyed the Phoenix Mercury, I enjoyed that job a lot. It was great getting to work with Diana Taurasi, and Brittany Griner was a rookie that year, and that was wonderful. And they were incredible. They were professional, and they took care of business, but they were also very personable and very down to earth. And it was my only experience coaching women in my career, but it was as enjoyable as any place I've ever been. And I will say that there weren't very many differences in coaching women versus coaching men. They were knowledgeable, they were hungry, they were very competitive, they were physical, they were skilled. The only differences that I saw were the main differences were, one, overall, they didn't jump as well. Brittany Griner could dunk really easily, and there were one or two other women in the league that could dunk pretty easily. But overall, they couldn't jump as well as men. And the second main difference, was probably even more of a difference, was they listened a lot better. But after that, Russ got the job at UCA, and he called me, and it was just a great opportunity for me to get back closer to home, closer to my parents, and for us to get closer to my wife's parents. My wife's from Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Her parents still live there. And although we're still 10 hours, 9 to 10 hours away from them, it was still closer than I think it was about 22 hours that we did make that drive once from Phoenix to my in-laws' house. So we're a lot closer here. And moving to this area, to Conway, was really, really ideal for moving back to Arkansas. And we've been here for 10 years now. And I was at UCA as an assistant for 6 years, and then head coach for 4 years. And now I get the great opportunity to join you guys and everyone else here at this wonderful institution of Hendrix.
Well, you've certainly been at a lot of places. You've been around the country, and I think what an incredible experience it must have been. There are so many talented athletes, student athletes in college, but only so many of them get to go on and play professional basketball. And generally there might be a player who is more talented. That player A may be more talented than player B, but player B might play professionally because they exhibit these professional qualities in terms of how they prepare, maintain their body, this and that. It must have been something to be around professional athletes with the Phoenix Mercury and being around legends, like Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner. Coach, you mentioned a lot in those last few minutes. There are a couple things I want to go back to real quick. One of them being, I knew this would happen, and Dakota and I both knew this would happen. You skipped over one very important fact, at least to us, about your time at Ole Miss, is that your jersey number 41 was retired at Ole Miss, and you're one of just a handful of student athletes at Ole Miss to have had that honor bestowed upon them, one of them being Archie Manning, of course, the father of Peyton and Eli, great football player in his own right, and then, of course, Chucky Mullins, Anyone who knows anything about Ole Miss is probably familiar with the name Chucky Mullins, or anyone who's driven around Oxford knows Chucky Mullins Drive. This and that. That just speaks to who you are, I think, as a person and how you were as a student athlete. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and what that was like?
Yes, that did happen. I'll first go into senior night, and that's when it happened, and I was not at all expecting it, not at all. And I can remember it was a typical senior night, and the three seniors, myself, Josiah Darby, who was a really good player for us, and I think if there were awards like this given out in the SEC, he would have been the sixth man of the year, because he really was like a starter, just didn't start the game. Did really well for us. And then Ansu Cisse, who was SEC Player of the Year that year and second team All-American, and led us in a lot of categories that season. But Coach Evans addressed the crowd about the three of us and how we helped in the process of bringing Ole Miss out of the cellar, because they were bottom of the barrel when Ansu and I got there, and then Josiah came out of junior college the next year. They were bottom of the barrel of the SEC for a long time, and by the end of that year, and after we finished playing that game, we were ranked 10th in the country. You know, it was really not expected of Ole Miss to make that type of rise. So Coach Evans addressed that, and he talked about each one of us. He talked about Josiah, and he talked about Ansu, and then he talked about me last, and he kept going on. And I remember thinking, this is great, but we need to get to the game. I'm ready to play. You know, let's get going with this. And then he went and he said, and I started to kind of phase out because I was really focused on getting the game started. And I can remember him saying, forever retiring his number. And I thought, wait, what did he say? And I didn't see this happen. Everyone else saw it. My attention was distracted, but they brought down a huge replica of my jersey. And then my brother pulled a curtain or something that covered it off of it, and there it was. And it all of a sudden it hit me how big a moment that was, and all my emotions came just pouring out. I couldn't help myself, and that was an incredible moment. I athletically didn't compare to Chucky Mullins. Chucky Mullins literally ultimately gave his life for Ole Miss athletics, because his number was honored first. Before it was retired, it was honored each year by whoever was thought of as the best defensive player and leader on the team wore his number for the football team, because of a hit that he made saving a touchdown in a game, in a league game, in an SEC game, and it broke his neck. And for a long time, he lived like that for a while, and then he died. You know, that literally led to him dying. And then, of course, everyone knows the legend that Archie Manning is, and how he did amazing things on the field at Ole Miss. You know, what I did on the court can't measure up to what those guys did. But what Coach Evans did in that went far beyond that, and it made a statement about how he felt about not just me, but all of us that played for him, how he feels about college athletics and what it should be about, and just how he feels about mentoring young men, young people, and what we should all be about anyway. And because of that, because of what he did, and my family and all of my coaches, but it really came to a pinnacle with Coach Evans there and his staff at Ole Miss. It's shaped my philosophy in coaching. It goes far beyond what we do on the court, and it even goes beyond what we do as far as our class work and our education goes. He allowed me to grow quite a bit as a young man and be involved in a number of things on campus. I was involved in our Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I got to grow quite a bit spiritually through that, and I eventually became president of our huddle there on campus. I was involved in our M Club. That was the Letterman's Club for student athletes, and I became president of that. I got to speak at a lot of schools in the area. I got to speak at a lot of churches in the area and eventually around the state. I was involved in a lot of things on campus and a lot of things in the community. I got to be a leader on campus. And I earlier that year, I was elected to the Ole Miss Hall of Fame. And it was not an athletic honor. It's not an athletic honor. It wasn't the Athletic Hall of Fame. Ole Miss does this every year. I think they still do it. I'd have to double check that. But I know for years they had been doing this, where they select the top 1% of the senior class based on scholarship, leadership, character, and community service, and select them for the Hall of Fame. And we have a little reception with the president of the university, and they put a plaque up of each one of us in the student center. That was a long time ago. I tell recruits, my senior night was over a quarter of a century ago. When I put it that way, I feel like I should be gray-headed and walking with a cane. But it's still there in the student center or wherever they have it now. But what Coach Evans did, again, goes way beyond what happened on the court and even beyond what happened in the classroom. It was a culmination of everything, of basketball, of education, and of what I stood for and how I carried myself, and the determination that through his encouragement and encouragement from my teammates, the determination I was able to show in every facet and everything that I went through.
Coach, when we first started getting an idea that you might end up being the head man for the Hendrix Warriors, I was talking to our executive producer, Dakota Saylor, who knew of you from his time at UCA, and he was telling me all about you. And he said, his jersey's retired at Ole Miss. And I said, is that so? So I looked that up, and one thing that's stuck out to me, Coach, when I was going through your information and stuff is your career, you suffered a couple of setbacks and a couple of injuries, but it quickly dawned on me, I think, why your jersey was retired. There are a lot of reasons, like you're saying, but you stand out to me as someone who is committed to lifelong teaching, facilitating relationships, personal growth, professional growth. But you're also someone, you must love the game of basketball as well, because I was fortunate enough to play at the college level, not nearly as high as you, of course. I was here at Hendrix as a football player. But in that time, you understand that no one really makes it through their 4 years healthy. Everyone's going to have injury troubles, and sometimes it forces them to retire. You went through enough, Coach, that I don't know of many other people who would continue to play out their college career the way you did. And I just think that reflects a sort of strength about you that is just remarkable. And maybe I'm off beat here in saying that, but why was there ever a moment when you considered maybe hanging it up?
It was difficult. That was difficult. And yes, there were times where I wondered if it was worth it. At the end of my freshman year, which I had a really good freshman year, I was an All SEC freshman pick, and I was a freshman All-American. And I guess about midway through conference play, I tore my ACL, and that was hard. And as I was a sophomore coming back, and this is before the conference. I'm sorry, this is before before we were even allowed to start practicing, I had another injury on that leg, and I had to have another surgery, a microfracture surgery. And I'll give you a little side story on microfracture surgeries here in a second. But I had a microfracture surgery, and then I came back from that in time to play that season. And then the last conference game of that year, I tore my other ACL. And at that point, I was really down. I was really down. And that's when I really thought, why me? When I feel like I'm doing everything right. I feel like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm certainly trying to do everything right. I don't understand. Am I not supposed to be playing basketball? Am I not supposed to be? But I had a lot of support. I had a lot of people encouraging me, and you know, there were a lot of people that felt bad for me and were, I think, wanted me to continue, but would have understood, and sometimes even thinking, man, if it was me, I wouldn't keep going. But I also loved my coaches. I loved my teammates a lot, and I felt I guess a responsibility to get back and to help them for how much they were accepting of me and how good they were to me, as well as my desire to play basketball and my desire to just be around those guys. So there were times where I wondered, is it worth it? But you know, looking back, I feel like it was. And then my junior year, I didn't have any surgeries. That was a great year. But my senior year, I got hurt again in a game, and I missed 2 games, and I had surgery, and the surgeon said, okay, you're going to be out 12 to 14 days. And looking at the schedule, I think one game was at Tennessee. The game after that was at home against, I believe, LSU. And then that third game that I would have missed was at home against Mississippi State. And that was our huge rival. And then I would have been back after that. So I missed the first 2 games. And then I got back to getting on the floor and doing some exercises. And then I got into some drills in practice. And it was the 9th day out of surgery. Now, he said like 12 to 14 days. It's the 9th day out of surgery. Mississippi State is the next day. And something happened in practice where our trainer, my athletic trainer, had to go into the training room off the floor, back in the, back away, where he was not in the gym. He was back in the training room. So I stayed out on the floor and went through some contact stuff, and including like diving over one of the tables for the ball. And after we got done, I told him I felt good. He said, "Yeah, you look good." And I said, "Yeah, I wanted to do more." He said, "Yeah, we'll work you in a little bit more." I said, "No, you don't understand. I want to play tomorrow." He said, I don't know. We'll see. I'll get in touch with Dr. Field, the guy who did all my knee surgeries. And so I talked to my coaches. I said, I felt good today. He said, yeah. They said, yeah, you look good. I said, no. Oh, I want to play tomorrow. And Coach Evans says, I don't know. We'll see. And so I dressed out and I warmed up with the team, and I had no idea. The game's going on. I have no idea. And then Coach Evans called me up and says, "Hey, let's go." And so I got up to go, and we had a special team. We were a family, and it was easy to see that. And I think all the people there, the people in Oxford, which Oxford is a small town, but it was really small then. So they all knew what was going on. They all knew what I gone through what I was going through, and a lot of people showed a lot of love for me. But when I got up to go check into the game, the tad pad, our gym, had never been that loud. I mean, you couldn't hear yourself think in there how loud it was just for me going up to check into the game. And then when I get in, it was so loud that the coach from Mississippi State had to call a timeout. He called a timeout. And so we go back into the huddle. Everybody's all hyped up because I'm in the game. And you know, coach say, hey, calm down. We got, you know, they have the ball. They're pressing. And so we go back in. I'm guarding my guy. We're pressing. He goes up to catch the ball because everybody else is not open, and they try to throw it into my guy. And I tip it, and then I dive out of bounds to save it into one of my teammates, and they swing it around, and we hit a three. And as loud as it was when I was checking in, it got even louder. And he called another timeout. And it was an emotional, very emotional time. We ended up winning that game in double overtime. But after the first 3 knee surgeries, that fourth one, I grew up a little bit. And instead of thinking, as I did on the first 3, why me? Why am I going through this? I was a little more grown up, a little bit stronger, and I figured, why not me? I already know that I can handle this. I can work through this. I can get back through this. And if I don't play, I know I'm going to be okay because I've got people around me that love me and that support me. And if I do play, I've got people around me that love me and support me, and I'm gonna do everything I can, whatever the situation is. And it worked out the way it worked out, and it worked out in a great way. So that has helped me years and years later, and that was my 4th surgery. I had another one right after the season because they couldn't fix everything, or I would miss the rest of the year. I've had a couple more knee surgeries since then, and of course I had a couple of cardiovascular surgeries here a little over a year ago. But all those lessons I've been able to take with me and help me, to help my family as my older daughter has gone through a couple of surgeries herself, and to help the guys that I've coached now with my 24 years of coaching at this point. Lots of lessons I've been able to take with me and apply to my days of coaching.
Coach, you mentioned your family. I mean, and you just mentioned so much, and it was so great to be able to hear about your experiences. And I'm sure I'm going to be the first person after this interview who goes online to find that moment against Mississippi State to go try to find the highlights of that. But you mentioned your family, and we were talking about a lot about the past. Now, if we move forward to the present, if I remember correctly, you're going into your 11th year in the city of Conway. Trying to do my math real quick here. Tell us about your experiences here in the city since you've been here.
Well, Conway has been great. It has changed a lot. My dad grew up in Plummerville, so as a kid, we came through Conway quite a bit on my way to my grandma's house, and I was familiar with Conway quite a bit. I'd been by Hendrix, been on Hendrix's campus before, been on campus at UCA several times before, myself with Boise State and with the All-Star game. And then as I got into college, I still would come back through Conway to go to the All-Star games that were here. And then it had been about 15 years that I had not been in Conway, and coming back, it's grown so much, it's changed so much, and not that it's a huge metropolis, but it is one. As we've lived in a number of places, and the last place we lived was out in the Phoenix area, which we loved that. It was hard for us to move away, but moving back to Arkansas, Conway is very ideal. It's not too big, but it has basically everything we need here. It's very, very family friendly, and that is something that we have enjoyed quite a bit. It's been great for the girls, great for Rebecca and Lindsay. It's been great for my wife Jennifer. We've gotten established in First United Methodist here. We're very involved in that church, and that's been great for me and for Jennifer and for both girls. I'm embarrassed to say this, but maybe my favorite part of Conway are the places to eat here.
Hey, don't be embarrassed, Coach. Don't be embarrassed. We're all sitting here. We're all wondering what your favorite place to eat might be.
Well, if I didn't first say Mike's place, I'd be it'd be wrong for me to not first say Mike's place. I really like that place. I've been there a number of times. There are lots of local places in Arkansas places here that are incredible. The Pasta Grill is wonderful, also downtown. Love those two places. Lots of places around. I'm known for eating at David's Burgers quite a bit, especially the one off of, I don't know if it's Harkrider or, I guess it's still Harkrider, just going around the curve. To the point of, there are some people that work there, they know exactly to start making the no salt fries when I walk in. And then I am a very frequent customer of, I'm almost ashamed to say, but I'm a very frequent customer of Larry's Pizza. So frequent that one of the cooks comes out and daps me whenever I walk in, and a number of the people working there will know. So you want this pizza? We'll start working on this one, and then they'll say, we want this one. We know you like this one, but only baked so much, and they know exactly what I like there. So when I'm there for the buffet.
What are your go-tos, Coach, when you go to Larry's?
Well, I like the barbecue chicken pizza. I do like, pepperoni is my favorite. It's always been my favorite pizza. And when I used to really like desserts, my heart stuff, my hospital stay changed my taste buds, so I don't really have a taste for desserts anymore. But when I did, I liked the peanut butter chocolate chip pizza, but only half baked, and they knew that. And even after going through what I went through, and it being a long time from my last time going to Larry's, and when I started going back, I went in there, and as I'm paying for my buffet, the young lady says, "You want your peanut butter chocolate chip pizza, half baked, right?" I said, and my buddies liked it too. I said, "Yeah, that'd be great. So, I think everything they do there is great, but there are a few that, and they know to start making them when I walk in. So.
Coach, this is a safe space for Larry's Pizza. I'm going into my 10th year here in Conway, but I'm originally from North Little Rock, and I think anyone who is from Arkansas, especially the Central Arkansas area, I know you're from East Arkansas, but now you kind of made Central Arkansas your home. Anyone who says from this area that they have not been to Larry's Pizza is really, I think, a liar. And that staple you're talking about, the peanut butter chocolate chip pizza, if I was trying to remember one taste of my childhood, it's probably that. Like that is such a signature taste. You've
got to get it where it's half baked, and it's baked through. It's done, but it's not. It's softer, and it will, as the young people, I don't know if they still say this, but it will change your life.
Well, it might change your life. They might start saying it. It'll change their life again. We've got Dakota Saylor and Riley Miller in here with us. Riley's a senior here at Hendrix. Dakota's been in Conway for a very long time. And one reason, Coach, why I'm so glad you mentioned Larry's Pizza is we spend a lot of time talking to people, because a lot of people who come to Conway generally stay in Conway. It's such a a great city to live in. And when we talk about places to eat with them, Mike's Place, Ponce Grill, they always come up. Coach, I promise you, you might be the very first I've heard say Larry's. So I was very excited when you said that because I have not heard that before. And it needs to get Larry's back on the map.
Yes.
You're going to be the one to do it.
I hope so. I hope so,
Yeah.
because it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful place. And you mentioned a lot of people coming to Conway and staying. There are a number of people that I've met, not that I met, that I know, that I re-meet, I guess I should say, that are from Helena, West Helena. It seems like every couple of months I find someone else that is from there that moved to Conway, either coming to school here or just moved to Conway at some point years ago, and they stay here. And every couple of months I find someone new from my hometown that has moved here and has decided to stay here. So yeah, you're right. People come to Conway and they just don't want to leave. And I think Larry's has something to do with it, but we'll have to do some type of research on that.
Well, I know you're a very academic person, and you and I and Dakota, we can get on that research and conduct a few surveys.
But we may have to spend some more time at Larry's to catch them there.
That's right. That is absolutely right. I can't think of a better way to do it. Coach, you've had a chance to talk to my head coach, Coach Buck Buchanan, quite a bit. He's the king of saying a lot with a little. And the thing he says about Conway, that it's a small town with big town amenities, and I really think that that's one of the allures of this place. You mentioned your family, and I think for the people at home, I want to kind of get to know them a little bit better. The family you have, your immediate family, a pretty athletic family. Now, I know your parents didn't play. You mentioned your grandmother who played, but your wife was quite the athlete as well in her time.
Yes, Jennifer was. I guess I want to say is. She's an athlete.
What would she tell you? Would she say was or is?
She would probably say was, but I'll say she is an athlete. She played soccer at Ole Miss, and also her senior year, she was on the rifle team. So she was a dual sport athlete. She was a high major dual sport athlete, soccer and rifle. And when I tell some people, which she doesn't necessarily care for me to tell people that she was on the rifle team, but when I talk about her being on the rifle team, people get confused about that and think that she like twirled a toy rifle, and no, she shot rifles at targets, and she was pretty good at it. And even though she didn't have a lot of experience, she was actually pretty good at it. So, it's good to bring that back up. It's good to remind myself of that. I know not to cross her, and I try to make sure people know not to mess with her. But she is an athletic. She is an athlete. Both of my girls are very. Rebecca's very athletic, and Lindsay is also of that mold.
If we were to talk to your wife, who would she say they got that from? I know it's a little easier since they both played soccer. It'd be natural to say it came from her, but surely they got a little bit of athleticism from their dad.
Yes, I would say from both of us. They got it from both of us. Their interest in soccer definitely came from their mother, but their athleticism came from both of us.
I mean, Coach, you're so multi-talented. You obviously playing basketball. You studied chemical engineering and mathematics at Ole Miss. I've also heard that you've got quite the voice on you. If people couldn't already tell listening to you now.
I'm okay. I do. I sing in our choir at church, and I do enjoy that a great deal. I enjoy music a lot, and I have a pretty good passion for that. And when I was in school, in junior high and high school, I participated in choir, and honestly, not that I share it a lot, but when I was in high school, I actually had a better choir career than I had basketball. I was all state more times in choir than I was in basketball. So I feel like I do okay. People will say that I'm pretty good. I just feel like I'm okay at it.
We think you're pretty good. We've heard from enough sources to know that you're pretty good. Now, I know with Dakota, he's sitting here off to our right thing. He's probably thinking, how much will it take to get Coach Boone to sing the national anthem before one of the games?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's something we'll have to really contemplate.
Well, Dakota, it sounds like it'll take 5 peanut butter chocolate chip pizzas from Larry's. That's where the bidding starts. So we'll get on that. We'll see how much it'll take to get Coach to sing the national anthem. Coach, we've taken up a lot of your time, but before I go, really the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was basketball. There's a lot of time for that in the future. But I know we've got quite a few alums watching. We got a lot of people at home who are thinking about you as Coach Anthony Boone, the head coach of the Hendrix Warriors. So kind of give us some insight, just how you see it as you now step into this new era in your career. At the end of the day, when people watch your team, what do you want people to come away with? What impressions do you want to leave with people who are watching Coach Anthony Boone's Hendrix Warriors?
First off, aside from what we do on the floor, hopefully we'll be able to establish that the guys care about each other. Hopefully that's something that will carry over from how I and the staff are to the guys, and that they will pick up and be that way. Which, watching them last year, it seemed like they're a pretty good group. So we hope to continue in that and continue to expand that. Basketball-wise, I really enjoy my teams to play up-tempo. And oftentimes, players like to hear that. They like that idea until it comes time to actually doing it and training for that, because it takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy. And while we want to play up-tempo, most of the time we don't want to actually train to get ourselves in that kind of shape. But as much as possible, I'm going to make every day upbeat, create an atmosphere and an environment that the guys will want to come back to every day, and give them the sense of getting out of the mindset of I have to do this and I have to do that to I get to do this. I get to get stronger today. I get to get better today. I get to work on my craft. I get to work on my skill. I get to get better today. So, whether we are winning games or losing games or whatever is happening, the one thing that our goal will be is that people walk away thinking, they're fun to watch. That's going to be the goal.
Well, Coach, we certainly look forward to it. It's been a pleasure to sit down and talk with you today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do it. And we can't wait to see you on the floor, see you mentoring the young folks here at Hendrix College and get this new era underway.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Coach. So for Coach Boone, Dakota Sailor, Riley Miller, I'm Sandy Burks. Thank you so much for watching this production. We'll see you next time on the Warriors Sports Network.